Book 6 of Plato's Republic, Socrates tends to make claims by asking questions. And so Socrates first starts off by asking if philosophers should be the guardians and leaders of cities, since they are keen sighted in knowledge. He goes on to say that there is not much difference between the blind and those who aren't philosophers, because the blind cannot see, and those who aren't philosophers cannot truly see knowledge. And so he says that just like how blind people should not be running the cities, since they cannot see, those who don't have knowledge or are blind in knowledge should not be able to run the cities. Those who can have knowledge should run the cities, which are philosophers. And so he goes into the nature of philosophers. Philosophers love the sort of learning that makes clear to some feature of the being. Philosophers also have a natural affection for the truth and hate falsehood. They are lovers of truth and they strive for the truth of every kind. Philosophers are very temperate because they have a love for learning, and so this love of learning means that they gain pleasures from the soul, and so they focus on soul pleasure and not on body pleasure, and so they're very temperate. So a philosopher would not care so much about money. A philosopher is also not scared of death because he sees the bigger picture of all time and all living beings and not just himself. The philosopher should also be a fast learner, and the philosopher should not be forgetful. Adeimantus agrees with Socrates' reasoning on why a philosopher should be or would be an ideal ruler. However, Adeimantus does not agree with the conclusion that Socrates makes because Adeimantus has never seen in real life the philosopher that Socrates describes. Adeimantus claims that most philosophers are just useless in society. And Socrates agrees with Adeimantus, but Socrates does not think it is the fault of the philosophers or philosophies. When he describes this, he has two distinctions. There's the good philosophers and the bad philosophers. For the good philosophers, they're just seen as useless by society. And he has the sailing analogy to explain this. Analogy, there's a ship, and there's a ship owner who has poor vision and poor hearing, and he has lack of just seaman skills. And so there are the sailors who quarrel and fight about who should be the captain, and they try to persuade the ship owner about who should be the captain. And the one with the most persuasion, or the best persuasion, is awarded as the captain. And everyone else is seen as useless. Even the one who knows how to navigate the sea by using the stars. However, everyone sees him as useless because he's a stargazer. He's a useless stargazer. However, all of the sailors don't know that to navigate the waters, you need to use the stars. This is similar to the situation in Athens. Socrates claims that no one has an idea that there is knowledge to be had, which is what the philosophers had. In this analogy, the philosopher would be the stargazer, who actually has a very useful skill in navigating the waters, but everyone sees him as useless. Now, Samuel is going to describe why this is unrealistic with bad philosophers.
Adeimantus continues to not fully agree with Socrates. None of the philosophers he has ever known have been like Socrates is describing. He says most philosophers are useless, and that those that are not useless tend to be vicious. Socrates, surprisingly, agrees with Adeimantus's views of philosophers, but he argues that the current group of philosophers have not been raised in the right way. Men born with a philosophical nature, courageous, high-minded, quick learners, with faculties of memory, are quickly preyed upon by family and friends, who hope to benefit from their natural gifts. They are encouraged to enter politics in order to win money and power by their parasitic family and friends, so they are inevitably led away from the philosophical life, in place of the natural philosophers who are diverted away from philosophy and corrupted. Other people who lack the right philosophical nature rush in to fill the gap and become philosophers when they have no right to be. These people are vicious. The few who are good philosophers, those whose natures were somehow not corrupted, either because they were in exile, lived in a small city, were in bad health, or by some other reason, are considered useless because society has become opposite towards correct ideals. Socrates blames this on the constitution. He says, "There is not one city today with a constitution worthy of the philosophic nature. That is precisely why it is perverted and altered." The current situation in Athens is similar. No one has any idea that there is real knowledge to be had, a craft to living instead. Everyone, mainly sophists, tries to get ahead by clever, often unjust tricks. Those few good philosophers who turn their sights towards the forms and truly know things are considered useless. Socrates decides to establish philosophers as guardians, and that there will be only a few of them. The nature must contain ease of learning, good memory, astuteness, and smartness. And other things that would follow are youthful passion and high-mindedness,
which is the sun. In this book, Plato uses Socrates to talk about the child of goodness, which is the sun. The analogy of the sun is him comparing good with the sun. I think he's also trying to say that the sun is a source of all power and goodness. He also describes it as a source of light that allows us to see all truth. The sun helps illuminate his arguments as well, and acts as a source of light in the visible realm. The visible realm is one of two realms. The visible physical realm that I just mentioned, where the sun is the source of seeing things, and the thinkable realm where good does the same job as the sun, that gives light, knowledge, and truth and all that. Socrates says that the sun cannot be looked at basically because it's just not that simple. The sun is so complex that it can't be looked at or known through your own eyes. Plato says goodness and the sun are both similar because they help objects grow and make them visible. Throughout the dialogue, Socrates asks Glaucon which of the gods can he say causes the beautiful light shining down on us. And Glaucon says that he and everyone else would say it's because of the sun. The sun shines down on the visible realm with light so that goodness can illuminate people with truth. It is like they go hand in hand with each other. It is said that only souls who are illuminated by the sun can possess knowledge, and those who turn away and ignore it are surrounded with darkness. Through and through, the sun is a great metaphor for good and knowledge.
Another big thing that Plato covers in Book 6 is the analogy of the divided line. So this is really to separate the world of appearances and the world of the forms. So it's really more of a diagram. So this is a diagram I found on it that basically portrays what Plato described in Book 6. And so it's divided into 4 parts and also divided into 2 parts. You move from right to left, you get closer to the truth. And so in part D, in section D, you have illusion. So this is like shadows and reflections. And so when we see a shadow, we know there's a shape there, but we don't truly know what the object is because the light can change the way the shadow looks. Section C is objects, which is what we can sense with our senses, so what we can see with our eyes, can hear, etc. However, Plato doesn't believe that we can gain knowledge through our senses. So section C and D, or that half, the visible realm, what we gain from the visible realm is opinion. So the other half is the world of the forms, or the intelligible realm, and this is where we can gain knowledge. And so in part B, we have mathematical reasoning. So this is what the humans or man can connect with his mind, but cannot fully picture it in the physical world. For example, a straight line. We can have an imagination of what a straight line is, but we can't physically see a perfectly straight line, an ideal straight line. This is like the triangle B that Mr. McNeil was talking about. So in section A, that is where you are closest to the truth, and this is intelligence, and this is where just pure ideas, and so this includes philosophy and the forms. And so this is the closest to the truth, and so with A and B you can get knowledge in the intelligible realm. So that concludes our presentation on book 6 of Plato's The Republic. Thank you for listening.